Doctors, those essential frontline workers that heal people in numerous ways, from medicine to therapy. Doctors have been a mainstay in fictional universes since the beginning of fiction in some form or another. But which of these medical marvels are good, and which are more harmful than helpful? I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Cartoon Doctors Good to Evil. But first, we also want to mention that we have another doctor-themed video that just went up on our anime channel, Otaku Binge. Anime has a lot of doctors as well, so we decided to give them the good to evil treatment as well. We're releasing a lot of anime videos in our usual binge formats over there, such as Pokemon villains evil to most evil, Dragon Ball Z deaths gruesome to most gruesome, and anime assassins weak to powerful. So if you love anime, we're gonna prescribe you a subscription to Otaku Binge. Now, back to the doctors. We have two important rules to talk about. Firstly, only 2 doctors per show, because some shows have a lot of doctors. Secondly, the characters on this list are eligible whether they actually have a doctorate or just use the doctor title in the show. With that out of the way, we're going to start out with the most good and work our way down. These are the good doctors. Our gold medal of good for Best Doctor belongs to Ratchet from Transformers Animated. Ratchet is technically referred to as a medic and not a doctor, but still, he performs the same duties as a doctor, just during battle instead of after the fact. He is an Autobot alongside Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Prowl, and Bulkhead, employed initially to repair space bridges. He originally wanted to discard or hide the Allspark, but ends up alongside the other Autobots in a crash landing on Earth. He's then constantly seen helping the rest of the Autobots stop the multitude of Decepticon attacks, Megatron and Starscream throughout his time on Earth. Our silver medal of good doctor goes to Adventure Time's Minerva Campbell. She's the biological mother of Finn and is part of the group of doctors on Hub Island referred to as Helpers. She's currently the only helper left on Hub Island, having uploaded her consciousness into the island's computer system and making hundreds of robot clones. Being the last and only helper, she is responsible for responding to the virus created by Dr. Gross. She's helped a vast population of people on Hub Island. However, she falls into the commanding mother stereotype and tries to prevent Finn from leaving the island during his stay. Eventually, she does relent and leads the rest of the humans to Ooo. She may not save the world, but she's nothing if not a good person at heart. Earning our bronze medal of good doctor is Camilla Nacida from the Owl House. She's the mother of the main character and honestly doesn't appear often throughout the show. Her main goal throughout the series is to take care of her daughter, which is why she sends her to Reality Check summer camp and doesn't realize she went to the Boiling Islands instead. Her notable appearances in the first season are through texts checking up on Luz throughout the series to make sure she's okay. She does get to have a bit more screen time when she believes that Luz has come back.
Who are you and why are you pretending to be me?
And even after it's revealed that V is tricking her, she still goes out of her way to save her. She stops Jacob from dissecting V and beats him up with her flip-flop. She doesn't rank higher simply because she hasn't had enough screen time to really come into her own in the show. But with how things are going, that may change in the future. Continuing on our theme of mothers who are doctors, Ann Possible from Kim Possible is up next. Ann Possible is a neurosurgeon. She's also a loyal, devoted wife and mother, and her husband is also a doctor. She tends to be the voice of reason in her family, but is also shown to be strict. But at the same time, she's shown to be very kind and loving.
Oh, it's all right. I'm a doctor.
Her worst action is that she plays personal conversations with her daughter on speakerphone while performing surgery, which is a little concerning. Steven Universe's Priyanka is up next. She is the mother of Steven's best friend Connie and a respected doctor. She is a very overprotective mother, forbidding Connie from visiting Steven due to Garnet's phone call. However, when she realizes that the crystal gems are responsible parental figures, she allows Connie to visit Steven again. She seems to be all about safety, constantly warning her daughter of possible issues such as the snowstorm or confiscating Rose's sword. She's also a strict law-abiding citizen and refuses to bend the rules, even to save herself. That is, until Connie convinces her otherwise. Later in the series, she relinquishes some of her controlling aspects and instead becomes a more supportive figure to Connie and Steven. If it wasn't for her strictness and intense, almost helicopter parenting, she would rank higher, but as it stands, she lands here. Our next spot goes to Julius Hibbert from The Simpsons. Dr. Hibbert is Springfield's most prominent and competent doctor, and the doctor that The Simpsons tend to go to. He's the first doctor on this list to have a confirmed doctorate, specifically from Johns Hopkins Medical School. However, he may be practicing medicine without a license. He's a member of Springfield's Mensa, showing that he's a genius to some degree. Hibbert is also known to chuckle at inopportune times or inappropriate moments, and is rarely seen as deadly serious.
I'll throw myself out.
We can't rank him any higher because he is routinely seen as a bit shady. Not only was he willing to give out prescriptions with no questions asked, but he also seemed to know very well the prices of a baby on the black market. Sure, he said that was only a test, but it's still worth pointing out. Rounding out our good section of our list is the final mother/doctor combo, and that is Trudy Proud from the Proud family. Trudy is the mother of the main character, Penny, and she is a veterinarian. She comes from a wealthy and brainy family and is shown to be caring towards her kids. However, she ranks here because she has intense anger issues and flies into a rage when Oscar doesn't fall in line.
I've got to admit, Oscar, that was quite a meal.
She also has a mean-spirited side and openly talks about cheating on Oscar. And she's also hyper-possessive of her children, and during arguments, refuses to let Oscar call them his children. She's definitely a bad partner to some degree, but she does have some good advice as a mom. She also may or may not be the voice of reason in her family, and for that reason we'll place her just at the tail end of our good section. Speaking of which, we now get to our morally neutral section. This is the gray area. Starting out the gray area is our favorite crustacean, Dr. John Zoidberg from Futurama. Zoidberg is the resident doctor at Planet Express and a supposed human expert. He's shown to be incompetent throughout his time at the company, mixing up a human and a robot and referring to Fry as a young lady.
Young lady, I'm an expert on human.
He doesn't seem to have an actual medical degree and currently lives in a dumpster outside Planet Express. He now works and lives at Planet Express due to his lifelong debt to Farnsworth, who employed John to mercy kill when he shows signs of the Yeti infection. Zoidberg is incompetent, but he isn't malicious throughout his time on Earth. A similarly incompetent doctor, Family Guy's Dr. Elmer Hartman, is up next. Hartman is the family doctor of the Griffins, and they go to him quite often due to a variety of reasons. It's confirmed in-universe that he is the worst doctor at the hospital as seen through his many failures.
Who's the worst doctor in this hospital?
You are, Dr. Hartman.
He will perform intense surgeries and back adjustments while drunk, and left his cell phone in Joe's bag, turning him into a quadriplegic. He may or may not have created Ernie the Giant Chicken, which shows he also has mad scientist vibes at times. Hartman is a bit more dangerous in his idiocy than Zoidberg, who at the least tries his best. Continuing with our chain of incompetent doctors, Nick Riviera from The Simpsons is up next. Nick is a quack physician who studied at phony medical schools. Throughout his time in Springfield, he works in a multitude of places. He mainly works as a doctor, but he also invented a variety of devices. These devices are not very good and don't work the way they're supposed to, but he works as a great salesman and still sells hundreds. He helps Mr. Burns cheat death on a weekly basis and is responsible for the accidental switching of Mr. McGreg's arm and leg during surgery. He doesn't care about his patients and will blatantly tell them to do dangerous things. He was even willing to do open heart surgery without knowing how to do one.
These gloves came free with my toilet brush.
He forgets to knock out his patients and then passes out from the gas he was supposed to give them. Nick's incompetence is on the more dangerous side. He may actually have a body count that we are unaware of. Hailing from Venture Bros, Dr. Thaddeus Rusty Venture is up next. Venture was a renowned traveler and adventurer, and was part of his father's Team Venture and explored the world with them. He was under constant threat of monsters, magic, and maniacs throughout his adventures with Team Venture, also being intensely hazed by them at the same time. He eventually became the head of Venture Industries and started creating many different tools and devices. He is shown to be manipulative, such as after Father fathering twin sons with an actress and letting his head of security, Myra, believe that she was the mother. He builds things such as death rays, although he swears the U-ray doesn't need to be used for destruction. After discovering his twin brother was alive, he gives him half of the company. After his brother's death, he tries to lead the company better than he did before. With all that said, he is still trying to be a good guy. Similar to the previous entries, next up is Professor Hubert J. Farnsworth from Futurama. Farnsworth is the CEO and major shareholder of Planet Express and a professor at Mars University. He's lived for over 160 years, being one of Fry's only living relatives. He was accepted to MIT at age 14, being one of the smartest people in New York. But he also had a mental breakdown and started to go insane, being put into a mental institution by his parents. However, he ranks this low because he fits the mad scientist trope, creating many doomsday devices. He is also infamous for sending multiple space crews to their doom and barely caring about them.
If something goes wrong, bring back the blood.
The only reason he doesn't rank lower is that he's primarily senile and unable to do anything too horrible with his devices, at least at the moment. Rounding out our gray area is the spectacular Spider-Man's version of Dr. Curtis Connors, aka the Lizard. Connors is a biologist at Empire State University who lost his arm during the war. He studies the regeneration of reptiles in hopes of applying it to humans and regenerating his own arm. After his serum is hit by one of Electro's lightning bolts, he ingests it, becoming the Lizard. As the Lizard, he acts mostly on instinct, attacking Spider-Man and others with very little conscience. He was later cured by his wife Martha and moved to Florida to escape the bounty on his head. But because he runs mainly on animal instinct when he is the Lizard, we rank him just outside the bad category. With that said, now we head down to the doctors with the most malpractice suits and/or bodies on their hands. These are the bad and evil doctors. The least bad of the baddies, Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb, is up next. Doof is the head of Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated and overdramatic, eccentric, and generally clueless inventor who wants to take over the tri-state area. He's not evil in the traditional sense, as reflected in his ranking here on our list, but he still has many evil actions under his belt.
It works better from a distance.
He was heavily abused throughout his childhood, mostly mentally, but also through abandonment and other means. He was forced to be a lawn gnome and lost his best friend, Balloony. He now tries to get his revenge through various means, usually ruining whatever his brother Roger has planned. He tries to build his own evil city on the ocean, attempts to reverse the rotation of the Earth, and outshine Huge Hand Hans. We can't rank him lower because he does turn over a new leaf in the end. However, his evil actions were entirely done by his own hands and not instinct. From The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, up next is Dr. Barber. Dr. Julius Barber is the resident doctor, surgeon, and barber in Stormalong Harbor. Barber is shown to be terrifying to most people in town, filling the role of both the town's go-to doctor and the go-to barber, who feeds the hair to an unknown monster in his basement. On a good day, he's a good doctor and actually tends to his patients, but this is the exception and not the rule. He never wears gloves during surgery, not caring about germs or infections. But the worst part is that he is downright maniacal. He purposefully messes his patients up so they have to come back to him later on. Barber is the first one on this list to actively harm his patients, not because of idiocy, but because of actual malicious intent. Next is Dr. Arthur Light from Teen Titans. Dr. Light is mostly a small-time criminal in Jump City who's had more than a few run-ins with the Teen Titans. He weaponizes light to attack his foes, and his most major weakness is Raven's darkness, which terrifies him to no end. He tends to focus on small-time petty crime rather than doing big world-ending affairs. He was then traumatized by Raven's demonic form, so much so that he would easily surrender if she threatened him with it. Dr. Light is not particularly super evil, but he is the first person on this side of the list to actively have a criminal record. If he did have bigger goals, we would rank him lower. He ranks here at the bottom 5. The megalomaniac Dr. Draken from Kim Possible is up next. Draken self-categorizes himself as evil megalomaniac and a mad scientist. He, unlike Dr. Light, actually tries to do more than just petty crime, trying to take over the world more than once. He is a coward in the face of someone angry and confident like Shigo, becoming extra scared of her wrath. Draken doesn't have a doctorate, he was literally laughed out of college, but he uses the doctor title regardless.
One day my genius will be recognized.
The only reason he doesn't go any lower on our list is that he isn't always evil. He does help Kim and Ron beat Warmanga and Warhawk during their invasion. Also, he is rather incompetent without Chigo by his side, which makes him unable to really do anything truly evil during his time as a villain. Earning our Bronze Medal of Evil is Dr. Krieger from Archer. He is a member of the International Secret Intelligence Service, and the team's resident inventor and scientist, raised by a former Nazi scientist as a child, believing he was the scientist's son. He became an expert in everything from microbiotics to neuroscience. Still, he never gained a legitimate doctorate in any of these fields.
Wow. That feels good.
In fact, he may or may not have legally changed his name to Doctor in place of even using just the title. He keeps jars of human remains in his home, is fine with covering up a murder, and sustained his short relationship with Cheryl by drugging her. Not to mention his hundreds of experiments, ranging from cyborgs to mind control devices to a ray that makes you defecate. He may not try to take over the world, but he doesn't care about ethics. He will actually do the things he sets out to do, which earns him our Bronze Medal of Evil. The Silver Medal of Evil goes to Adventure Time's Dr. Gross. Dr. Gross is a scientist and supposed helper in the last human population on and around Hub Island. She is responsible for the virus that killed most of the helpers on Hub Island, save for Minerva, and she wasn't affected due to her cybernetic implants. However, she didn't release this virus maliciously as it was a lab accident. While this wouldn't automatically make her super evil, there are other parts to her we need to talk about. She had Kara destroy her best friend's escape attempt and showed no major emotion while doing so. She's also responsible for making cyborg hybrids in an attempt to call extinction. Still, she seems to disregard the feelings of who she experiments on, and overall this earns her the Silver Medal of Evil. Finally, taking the Gold Medal of Evil is none other than Dr. Reginald Bushroot from Darkwing Duck. Bushroot was a scientist at St. Canard University who intended to create a serum to make animals photosynthesize like plants, hoping to stop worldwide hunger. He was heavily bullied by the other scientists to the point that he would perform his experiment on himself. After completing his experiment, he ends up becoming a duck-plant hybrid.
Son of a broccoli, what have I done to myself?
When he turned into a hybrid, he seemingly killed Dr. Gary and Dr. Larson. He also kidnapped his crush, Dr. Dendron, and then turned her into a plant-duck hybrid as well. He may not have created as terrible of a virus as Gross, however, each and every one of his actions is malicious against his coworker. But the road to hell is paved with those good intentions. With the morality spectrum wrapped up, we do have some extra medals to hand out to these medical professionals. Earning the Darwin Medal for dumbest character is Zoidberg. He knows nothing about humans despite supposedly being an expert, and he is often seen as a plain idiot. In fact, Zoidberg also earns the Gluttony Medal, as he eats everything from garbage to flags. Springfield's Dr. Hibbert earns the Pride Medal due to his pride over being the best doctor in town, even touting his high prices whenever possible. Springfield's other doctor, Dr. Nick, earns the Greed Medal because he'll do almost anything for money, even if it's straight up malpractice. Earning the Sloth Medal is Professor Farnsworth, who is seen sleeping most of the time, mostly due to his age. The Lust Medal goes to Dr. Krieger, who builds chokebots for Cheryl, will sleep with everything from pigs to holograms, and gets excited at inopportune times. The Wrath Medal goes to the Lizard, who attacks anything and everything around him, mostly due to instinct. Finally, the Lizard also gets the Envy Medal, due to being envious of Reptile's ability to regenerate and tries to capture that ability. With all that wrapped up, remember, if you need more of a checkup, make sure to go watch our Anime Doctor's Good to Evil video on Otaku Binge. And if you love anime, make sure you subscribe over there, where we have a lot of anime videos going up in our usual binge formats. And remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist. But most importantly, stay wicked.